What's the story, Morning Glory? What's the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for Love is Blind, Season 6, Episode 8, Clinging to Love. Now, I ended my previous episode a little bit too early because I forgot to talk about AD and Clay when they were talking about infidelity. So I'm going to start off this episode with AD and Clay. So in the last episode, AD and Clay, they're sitting on the couch and Clay starts talking about his family and he starts talking about his father. So his father had a major issue with infidelity. He was like a chronic cheater, right? And his parents were married for 25 years. And the picture that Clay was painting, I'm assuming the father cheated on his mother throughout their whole entire marriage. It was so bad that Clay said his father would take him on these cheating excursions. He would take his son when he would go see other women, when he would go cheat with other women, he would take his son along. And so he says that, and I feel like I've heard this before from somebody else, but he says that his father would take him to go see other women behind his mother's back, and that all the men that he's ever known, they've all cheated on their wives, on their significant others, all the black men that he's ever known. He even throws in a couple of celebrities, Will Smith and P. Diddy. I guess these are the celebrities that he really looks up to. And he even says that even they cheated on their wives. So that's all he's known. And it seems like, this is the excuse that he would probably give to the women in his past that he's cheated on. He probably would tell them, well, babe, I'm sorry I cheated on you, but this is all that I've ever known of black men to do. You know, this is what my father taught me. This is what I've been seeing all my life is black men cheat on their women, as if he can't control, like it's like you inherit it or it's in your DNA or something. You just cannot control it. So he's telling her all of this and she's just like, I would have been like, goodbye, see you later, sayonara. I would have been out of there. There's no way that I would have stuck around with a man or even contemplate marrying a man who was telling me that his only experience of black men is them cheating on their spouse, or not his only experience with black men, but like every black man that he's ever known in his life has cheated on their significant others. There's just no way I would have stayed with someone like that. I would have been like, holler back at me once you've gone through some very deep, intense, inpatient therapy. And your therapist has contacted me and has reassured me that you're cured. Other than that, stay the hell away from me. So they're having this conversation and AD is just like, as if this really wasn't bothering her or this really wasn't a red flag for her. I don't know what the hell is going on. So now in episode 8, we see AD and Clay again. They go to Clay's apartment and his apartment is really nice. And he tells her that if they do have a future together, that he's expecting her to move in with him. And the only other thing that I want to say about their scene in this episode is I really like Clay with his glasses. I think he looks really nice in his glasses. Moving on to Jeremy and Laura. So they go to Jeremy's apartment and I was like, whose model home is this? This cannot be where Jeremy lives, because this apartment, it was just beyond clean and beyond immaculate. It did not even look lived in. Do you understand me? The apartment did not even look lived in. I don't think there was even anything in there except for the garage. Now, the garage did definitely look lived in because he had personal pictures in his garage. I guess some newspaper articles that were done about him, pictures of him and his dad, and the newspaper articles, his exercising equipment. But inside, there's just no way anybody can be that neat and that clean. It's just no way. I don't know how he does it. So that's basically all that happened with them in this episode, was them going to his apartment, his not lived in apartment. Moving on to Kenneth and Brittany. So they are at Kenneth's apartment. It's a typical bachelor pad. No food in the refrigerator, no food in the pantry because he doesn't cook. He probably, eats out a lot, gets a lot of takeout. And as they're talking, guess what Kenneth is doing? He's on his phone. If I was Brittany, I would have snatched that phone by now. And like, what are you looking at? Are you looking into the future? Like, what are you looking at? What is so engrossing about this damn phone? You cannot be that much of a workaholic that in this situation where you are in a brand new relationship and you're on TV, all you can do is stay on your phone. Anyways. So he's on his phone and they finally get a chance to talk. And Brittany brings up his moodiness. She says that when they woke up that morning or whatever morning it was, she was like, "Oh, Susie Sunshine. Good morning, Kenneth. How are you? How'd you sleep?" And he was just like, "Hey." And so she talked to him about that. She was like, "I don't understand, why you weren't that enthusiastic or why you were so blasé." And he tells her, "I expect you to show me some grace if I'm not always on the upbeat, because you're not always on the upbeat and I don't say anything about it. So yeah, I just expect you to show me some grace when I get into those moods." He wasn't like, "Okay, I'm gonna change." He's just like, "Put up with it. We all have our ups and downs, good days, bad days. So just, deal with it." So after that, we see them in the kitchen and they're talking about him coming home late. He came home at 1 o'clock in the morning, and then he breaks down what he did, getting his hair retwisted. Then he went here, he went there. Like, he broke it all down of what he did that particular day. And I guess why he came home so late. And so she mentioned that when he came home, he turned on all the lights and then he woke her up. And she didn't like that because she had to be up by 5 o'clock that morning. And so she was like, "I really didn't like that. You woke me up out of my sleep and you kept the lights on." And so then she said that, did he even have a justification of why he did that? I don't even remember what he said to her, or if he even apologized about that. So then she starts talking about how there's something missing in their relationship. And she says that, this intense crave for one. First of all, let's get this straight. Kenneth and Brittany decided, I think when they were still in the pods or really early on, they had made the decision that they were not going to have sex until they got married. So sex is completely off the table for both of them. But she does talk about how they're lacking something in their relationship. I'm thinking she's talking about chemistry, that deep attraction for one another, that even though it's not going to lead to sex right now, you still should have that desire. And she says that we don't have it for one another. And he says, "I do." Maybe you don't, but I do. And he was like, "Thanks for letting me know that you don't desire me." Or that you don't crave me. So, she goes on and on about how she doesn't really feel it. She's not feeling this. She's not feeling that. And she said there's a lack of affection between them as well. And he says, "Well, at 1 o'clock in the morning, when I was trying to give you affection, you pushed me away. And sometimes there's other moments where I try to show affection to you and you pushed me away." And I'm confused because on the damn boat, when they were on their vacation, she was complaining to him about him not showing enough interest in her. And she was the one that was really like touchy-feely with him and saying that she cannot get enough of him showing physical attention to her. Like, she wanted him to amp it up. She wanted him to smother her. So I'm really confused. Like, all of a sudden now she's changed. She's cooled down and he's heated up. I didn't understand, y'all, but that's what she was saying. There's not enough affection between them. He was saying, "I try to be, but you keep on pushing me away." And the whole time he's on his phone, right? So she says that at 1 o'clock in the morning, she just wasn't in that mindset. Okay. It's in the middle of the night. She's sleeping. She has to get up early. So she really wasn't in that mindset. And after talking about, let me get my notes together here. So after talking about how, so he gives her this conversation, this really deep philosophical, spiritual conversation about how God has prepared both of them for whatever happens in this situation. So whatever happens, because God has prepared them, they're going to be able to handle it, whether it's good or bad. They're going to be able to handle it. They're going to get through it, and it's going to be for the best for both of them, whatever that outcome is. He talked a really good game, right? And she started having like this really, so after he says all of that, after he says we're going to be able to handle it, whatever happens, whatever God has in store for us, we're going to be okay, then he goes right back to his phone. Like, he literally just drops his head and goes right back to his phone. She's having an emotional moment. She starts to cry and he looks up at her, and I'm expecting him to like get up and comfort her as she's crying, because she's really like having a moment, snot coming out, tears, everything. And he looks up at her from his phone. He looks up at her and he goes, "It's not going to work out between us, but there's no beef." Okay. So she's still crying. And I'm thinking, okay, now he's going to get up and hug her or something, high five her or something. Nope. He goes right back to his phone. So like in between talking to her and trying to let her know, we got this, don't worry, if it doesn't work out, we're good, there's no hard feelings between us. Back to his phone. This guy is strange. Like I said, you are not the president. I don't think I've seen any president of the United States since cell phones have been invented been on their damn phone as much as him. Like, what is going on your phone? The only thing that I can think of is it has to have been like, it wasn't work. Whatever it wasn't work. Okay. So then after he has this, really intense conversation with her, basically breaking up with her, he gets up and he's no longer in the scene, but we can still hear him because his mic is still on. And he's talking to someone. He's calling someone and tells him that he's on his way. On your way where? Who are you talking to? I was very intrigued. I hope we'll find out at the reunion. So that whole situation, it seems like it's over. It just wasn't meant to be. I don't know if he was distracted by somebody else. I don't know if it was just the fact that, they were of different races and he wasn't used to this and he didn't know how to navigate dating a white woman. I don't know what the hell it was. But like I said, hopefully we'll find out at the reunion because they're not giving us much during the actual episode. Moving on to Amy and Johnny. So we're at Amy's apartment. They're talking about possibly buying a house. After, like, if things work out and they decide to get married, they're thinking about, after this, instead of just wasting money on rent, let's buy a house. So this is something that Johnny has been wanting to do, was to get a home. So Johnny suggests that they need to start budgeting, to save up for this house. And it seemed like Amy really wasn't, down with that because she says, I don't really live for the future. I live in the moment, and there's no use, for me to deny myself certain things just because of whatever I want to happen in the future. Basically saying she wants to have a good time. She's, she wants to spend her money how she wants to spend her money and doesn't want to be restricted in how she spends her money. I guess that's what she was saying. And so Johnny was like, no, we're still going to be able to do things and buy the things that we want, but we still have to be cognizant of the fact that, there's a bigger plan for us, like buying this house. So she's cool with that. So then they start talking about family planning. They still have not had sex yet. So he is so dead set against, a possible oops baby. He does not want a oops baby. He does not want children at all right now. And if he has to cut his stuff off to prevent that, he'll do that because he's so afraid of possibly, conceiving a child. So he tells her, what are we going to do? Because you don't want to get on birth control. And he doesn't feel comfortable just using condoms. That's what I'm putting together. Because I'm still wondering, why don't y'all just use condoms? But I guess he's just not comfortable with that being their only method. He has to have a backup plan to the backup plan to the backup plan. And so he says every girl that he's ever dated has been on birth control, so he's not used to this. And she says that, yeah, she's not going to do birth control because she doesn't want to pump her body with a whole bunch of hormones. And she has suggested him getting a vasectomy, but I'm thinking, how do we even get here? Why are we talking about vasectomies? Because he does want to have children. He just doesn't want to have them right now, but he does want to have kids eventually. And even though vasectomies are reversible, why go through this procedure twice, to get it done and then to get it reversed when you can easily just put on a condom or just get on birth control or use another method of contraceptive that's not so invasive or permanent? But I don't know what they're going to do about that. But your boy Johnny he's got the fear of God in him when it comes to possibly having a child right now. And Amy even tried to reassure him that, hey, even if we were to get pregnant, by accident or whatever, we're going to be able to handle it. We'll be fine. And he don't want to hear that. He's like, no, that's not even a possibility. So don't even speak of that. Don't even put that out there in the universe. So moving on to Chelsea and Jimmy. So we're at Chelsea's apartment. Jimmy meets her roommate and he's like, yeah, if we do make it to the end, we're not going to move in here because her roommate is more than a lot. I didn't think she was that bad unless they cut out some scenes. I really didn't think the roommate was that bad. But I get it. You don't want to live with a third person. So later on, they're back at their own place and Chelsea's friends come over. And when they come over, Jimmy is upstairs. He's working. So it's just Chelsea and her girls hanging out. And Chelsea tells them about how she had a second love interest who was Trevor, and how Trevor didn't have any other love interest. Chelsea was his one and only. And we do remember how in the pods, Trevor had asked her when she had told him that she was going to go with Jimmy. Trevor had asked Chelsea, why would you go with someone who is, you're not his number one, instead of going with me? And you're my number one. You're my one and only. You're my for sure. Why would you go with someone who's, possibly who could be with somebody else? So she talks about Trevor, and Chelsea says they asked her, when you saw Jimmy, did he look the way you expected him to look? And she was like, absolutely not. And I'm like, Chelsea, that train runs both ways. Okay. Because he was expecting Megan Fox, and he got Megan, not Fox. So Chelsea says that, she tells her friends that Jimmy hadn't kissed her that day yet. One of her friends thought she meant Jimmy had not kissed her at all. So the friend was like, oh, what? Oh my God. But she completely misheard. She misunderstood. Chelsea was just complaining of the fact that Jimmy had not kissed her that particular day. Then they talk about how Jimmy had seen a picture of Jessica, because now they have their phone. When they got back to Charlotte, they got their devices back, and we know our boy Kenneth cannot wait to get his phone back. So they all got their devices back. So they're all on social media looking at other people who were in the pods with them, and he had seen a picture of Jessica. And Chelsea reassures her friends that when he saw Jessica, Jimmy did not act any kind of way. He didn't act like he regretted not choosing Jessica, because things between him and Jessica had ended pretty badly. So she makes it seem like, he really didn't care that Jessica was so attractive, like it didn't bother him, and he was still happy with choosing Chelsea. Jimmy comes down to meet the friends. They talk about Jimmy choosing Chelsea over Jessica. They talk about kids. He says he does want to have children. He wants to have a big family, at least 3 children, possibly 5, and how they've only had one argument so far. Basically making it look like the relationship right now is so perfect because they've only had that one argument, which was resolved. He apologized because he knows, happy wife, happy life. So just go ahead and say sorry, and everything is good. It's going to be good again. They asked Chelsea, is he your typical type? And she was like, no, because she's used to dating really, buff guys. Now, they talk about the fact that Jimmy said that Chelsea lied and said that she looked like Megan Fox. And Megan looked at her friends and she's like, what do people always tell me? And her friends were like, that you look like Megan Fox and Carrie Underwood. And Jimmy looks at her and is like, well, I don't see Megan, but I do see Carrie. Where? How? Are you sober right now? Carrie Underwood? Megan Fox is more believable to me than Carrie Underwood. Now, she says that people think she looks like Megan Fox because of her dark hair and light eyes. So what's the similarity between you and Carrie Underwood? I'm perplexed. I wish he would have pointed out, or they would have pointed out, what about her is similar to Carrie Underwood. It doesn't take away from Megan being attractive, It just, I don't see it. Y'all are just so delusional. Or maybe I'm the one that's delusional because I don't see it. So Chelsea then, so after the whole friends thing, the friends leave. And, oh, by the way, Jimmy tells the friends that he thinks that Chelsea is just so perfect, that she's definitely his type, and that she's just perfect. Moving on. Later on, Chelsea tells them that she needs more affection and attention. They're in the kitchen, right? And I don't know where this is coming from, but she starts talking about how he didn't even kiss her that day. He didn't give her enough attention that day. And I'm like, this is the last kind of conversation any man wants to hear, when the woman starts complaining about, I need more affection, I need more attention, you didn't say I love you enough. It's just so needy and it's so whiny. I don't even want to hear that. And I'm a woman and I don't even want to hear that. And so I felt like she was talking about his lack of attention because of the fact that he had seen this picture of Jessica. I think she feels like he might be slipping away from her. And so she's trying to reel him back in. So he tries to reassure her that, he doesn't have any regrets about choosing her. It's got nothing to do with Jessica's damn picture. And she says that she doesn't feel any love from him. And then he tells her, well, lately you've been kind of clingy. You've been too clingy lately. Why did he go and say the word clingy? Because that must be her trigger word, because she became undone when he said you're too clingy. Because then she starts throwing all kinds of F-bombs, cussing at him, telling him, I cooked for you. I sat on that couch and watched your TV show with you, and you're going to call me. And then I went upstairs and I had sex with you, and you're going to call me clingy? And he was like, well, first of all, you were the one that wanted to have sex. And since we're on the topic of sex, why don't we lay off of that a little bit too? And I was like, damn, Jimmy. Wow. So, it got really bad. I couldn't believe he said that to her. I could not believe that he said that to her. So it got really bad. He decides that he's going to go back to his own place to cool off. So then we take a little break from them, and we see Jessica, Miss Thing herself, has made an appearance, and she's meeting up with Laura, Jeremy's fiance. So she's meeting up with Laura, and she tells Laura that Jimmy had sent her a friend's request. After 8 hours of her not responding, she goes back to check on her Instagram, and he had removed the friend request, and he had gone private on his Instagram. His Instagram page went private. And so she says that she had looked at all of his exes, and they all look like her. Okay, fine. So then they talk about Sarah Ann. And Laura tells Jessica that Sarah Ann had DM'd Jeremy, and Jeremy had shown her what Sarah Ann had said in her DM. And basically she was telling Jeremy, if it doesn't work out between you and Laura, hit me up. Obviously, she didn't like that, so on and so forth. And it bothered her that Jeremy ended up hearting that comment. So Laura okay, let's put that to the side. So then they go back talking about Chelsea and Jimmy. And so Laura tells Jessica that she thinks that Jimmy and Chelsea are definitely in love. She had mentioned that. Oh, they look like they're in love. But then later on in the conversation, when Jessica asked her if she thinks that Jimmy would still want to see her, Laura tells her, oh yeah, definitely. But I thought you just said that he looked like he was in love with Chelsea. So why would he want to see Jessica if he's so in love with Chelsea? Then they kind of have this look between them, like they're plotting something. I don't know what's going on. But let's get back to Laura. Let's get back to Jimmy reaching out to Jessica, requesting, to be her friend or whatever the hell. Yeah, that's problematic. That's problematic. If you're so happy with Chelsea and she's the perfect one, and you definitely see yourself marrying Chelsea, why the hell are you reaching out to Jessica and sending her a friend request? Like, why is it that important? Just because you had these brief conversations in the pods, because they're not in the pods for like months and months and months. They're only in the pods for like a week or two or something. It's not that long. So it's not like you've developed some deep connection with this person. Y'all were talking with each other, for months at a time. Y'all developed this friendship, this closeness, this connection. Just stop with all of this stuff about how you have a connection with all these people in the pods. No. Y'all talked for a couple of weeks and that was it. Didn't even see each other. So the fact that she is, obviously, because Jessica talks about how there is still this connection between her and Jimmy. There's still this attraction between her and Jimmy. Talking about how when they see each other, they're going to electrocute themselves because the electricity between them is just so intense. But he's with somebody else, Jessica. I would hope that you would have the decency as a woman to be like, you know what? I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole. I wish him all the best. I want nothing to do with Jimmy. And just, walk away from it all. It's just really crazy to me how, on top of that, how Laura was almost to me like encouraging Jessica to try to reach out to Jimmy or something when she got really upset about Sarah Ann reaching out to Jeremy. You didn't like it when you were on the other end of that. So why are you encouraging her to go mess up somebody else's thing? It just didn't make any sense to me. And that's the end of this episode. Thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. On your way out, please don't forget to rate the video if you like this content, subscribe to my channel, and I will definitely talk to you later. I'll be right back with episode 9. Bye.